economic numbers and all our numbers going into the future.
Prime Minister James Marape today confirming he would not be addressing the United Nations General Assembly meeting on the 27th of this month, as it coincides with the Bougainville referendum writs being issued.
The writs will be issued for the referendum on that date, and so I just thought it's more important for me to stay at home. Security of our nation, the success of our nation, and matters that is more important for us to address at home. So I conveyed our apologies to United Nations, to the General Secretary and the United Nations as an organization, to convey our apologies that I will not be attending.
The Prime Minister stating that the Foreign Affairs Minister would instead read his speech and the issue of climate change would be amongst those raised.
Because I am not attending doesn't mean our message will be diluted. It will be delivered at the United Nations Forum by our Foreign Minister, and those who need to hear will hear it clearly, and obviously our officials will live on to follow on from our conversations at various world forums and the organizations that needs to hear about these issues.
While countries like Fiji and Vanuatu have given strong statements against countries that are still optimistic on climate change, the Prime Minister says his message will be clear on how climate change is affecting Papua New Guineans.
Each nation will have their voice in the United Nations. Our voice will also be to speak in support of what is being expressed at small island nations facing consequence of sea level rise and climate change issues. So those are matters that will be discussed, but as I said, one of conversations in the United Nations from PNG alone will not be enough to influence the way the whole world thinks. This is a work in progress, and I think Foreign Minister will, for his time, will convey our message.
Another global issue affecting Pacific Island nations is the current China-Taiwan tussle. Solomon Islands and Kiribati announcing their diplomatic ties with China. The Prime Minister today saying PNG is very clear on its stance.
It's acknowledged one China policy since 1975, and China has remained one China for as long as we have our bilaterals with them. If two Pacific Island nations decide to embrace this policy, we will say it's entirely up to them. They've embraced this policy, and we welcome them into a group of nations who acknowledge one China policy as we speak.
But the most dire issue at the moment is just across the border from PNG. The West Papua issue most likely to be raised at the UN General Assembly. The Prime Minister says his government welcomes the announcement by the Indonesian government to allow the United Nations to visit that region, but at the moment it sees the issue as an isolated situation to be handled by Indonesia.
So I have my own issues to deal with. I sympathize if there are any isolated or any events taking place on the other side. I sympathize. On one-on-one conversations, we expressing our concerns on a human rights perspective. And so that is where we stand at the moment.
Adelaide Srox Kari, National, Emtv News.